Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Alex's Afternoon Art Show. Today we are doing Mysterio and I'm going to be talking about effects and I'm going to be doing some patterns as well, I believe. But yeah, largely we're going to be tinkering around with the effects and pattern brushes and stuff like that. We're going to be doing a little bit of the paintbrush stuff to get some interesting, to try and get some interesting effects out of it anyways. But yeah, it is stormy today, so yeah, the lighting is going to change probably pretty frequently, and it's probably going to just get dark pretty soon, even though it's early enough in the day. But yeah, Mysterio. This will probably be an easier one, probably be a quicker one. Who knows? I don't have to draw a face, so it'll definitely be quicker in that regard. So yeah, I'll roll the intro and then I'll show you what I've got. Okay, so this is where we're at. I've got this much done. So obviously there's going to be his normal, his normal like checker pattern thing will still be there. But I've got it kind of separated into these sections here where I'm going to be doing two tones of green. So there's going to be a normal green and then there's going to be a darker green. This around here is going to be a darker green. The whole inside here will be darker green, and then the lighter green will be the part that has the pattern on it. And so yeah, there will also be some bits, I think, which I'm gonna have to think about as well. I might have to do something with these kind of gloves and the gauntlets, these weird box gauntlet things. But yeah, even though I have a head shape in here, that's just for reference. I'm not actually going to be using that. I'm not actually going to be putting a face or anything in there. That's just for reference to say, okay, yeah, in my mind, the fishbowl is in the right location. That was all that was there for. I've made his cape a different shape, so it's got these huge like elevated shoulders. So the idea of that is to kind of give the idea of this of him seeming a lot more kind of overly theatrical. So the idea there being that there would be like trying to think now. Yeah, so the way that I logicked it out in my mind was that this would basically be held up with like a fish wire or something like that, something that which you can't actually see, but is kind of giving it this like bigger kind of look. So it has this kind of overly ostentatious kind of appearance to it, but it's also got effects merged into it as part of kind of the character. It would make sense that there's something like that. The idea that even in the costume there's kind of these little bits of effects and stuff like that, because obviously Mysterio is supposed to be a special effects artist. He would kind of maybe know about, or that maybe be something more of like a costume design thing, but regardless, it kind of fits in there a little bit with the kind of having the fish wire in there that kind of holds it into this flat shape, which has these kind of really elevated shoulders that go up to about like the back of his head. If we were to actually measure it out, like around like about the, which would stop around like the base of the skull, would be kind of the general area. These little kind of diamond things here would normally have like eye shapes on them, but I'm just going to have them be closed. I'm going to have the eye shapes still be there, but they're just closed eyes. Was there anything else I needed to mention before we get into this? Yeah, as I said before, this will be I think this will be pretty quick, because as you can see, there's really not much I have to do when it comes to the details. The patterns will be reasonably quick as well, because that's just I have to just kind of whack a bit of just a checker pattern on it, and that'll be quick enough. The cape doesn't need to have a pattern. Little bits of this I'll need to kind of go in and throw a bit of extra detailing on, such as like the diamond shapes here. I'll need to do a bit there. I think I'm going to need to open up some reference once I start getting into the sped up dimension. I'll probably need to add some reference or I'll need to not add reference, but I'll need to open reference on my monitor just to remember if there's anything that's supposed to go on these gauntlet pieces. I think there is something that's supposed to go on them, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, the fishbowl is a little bigger than I maybe would have normally done it. But again, it's part of the kind of making the design really over the top. because I think that's a little fun, like kind of over exaggerating it. And of course, yeah, I mean, we're doing just another normal mid shot. I mean, I've been doing a lot of these recently. I mean, since about kind of mid last, no, I don't want to say mid last year, but in about the middle of October, November, I started doing a lot of these mid shots. And I just kind of think they're a little easier, and they're a nice middle ground between a full body shot and a close up. Close up, you get a lot of detail, but obviously it's very close. You don't get to do much outside of whatever focal point you've decided upon. But with the full body shot, it's very kind of sparse. It's a little sparse in terms of detail. But with the mid shot, you get to kind of have a nice little middle ground. But the kind of problem therein is that a lot of the time doing a mid shot can take very long. If you're doing a lot of detail, it can take a while. Because it takes up just enough of the screen of where each of your lines needs to be quite large. But yeah, I don't want to dilly-dally too long because I have a habit of doing that recently. I have a habit of doing these full 10-minute ramble sessions in the beginning, but I think that's all I need to say. I don't think I'm going to really do much in the way of detailing on the fishbowl. I'll probably do some paintbrushes and stuff like that on it, but that's kind of obvious. Yeah. So, I'll begin. But first, I have to open up all my reference, but regardless, I will speed up from here on out. Okay, so I did my details and patterns, and that was reasonably quick. So the rest of this should kind of follow suit. So I applied the kind of checker pattern. It's maybe a little darker than I maybe would have normally done it, but I feel like it looks fine anyways. Yeah, the kind of half measure, I don't know about that. The kind of half and half with the because this will obviously be a lighter green on the checkered parts, and then on the uncheckered parts that'll be a darker green. And then there's also these slightly gold inlays as part of the suit. So we'll see. We'll see how that works. I mean, it's not hard to go back in with the same brush. I know which brush I used. So it's not too hard to go back in and then just add a little bit more if I don't like it. So So if that does become the case, I can change my mind. Uh, but yeah, I also added in this little pattern on the gauntlets. And I added it in at a pretty low opacity because I want it to look like a kind of like an inlay sort of thing, like a sort of like an inlaid pattern into it. Because it's supposed to be a metallic material, I don't want it to be too intrusive. So I put it at a lower opacity so that it'll blend in a little bit whenever I put the colors over it. But yeah, that should be okay, I think. That should sort of go along with that, in theory. Yeah. I don't think much about to say. Oh yes. So I made an adjustment to the inside of the bowl. I was thinking of having the bowl just be completely clear, and then whenever I'd be going over with the paints, I would paint in like a kind of a smoky texture on the inside, but I've decided to add a bit of a kind of shape to the smokiness because I'm going to have to do, I believe, a two-tone smoke. So I'm going to be doing a darker smoke and a lighter smoke. So I think I'm going to have the inside of it be a kind of purplier thing, because a lot of the time it's blue or sort of a greenish kind of thing. Most of the time it's a bluey kind of color, but I think I'm going to go with a purplier thing here. Maybe the lighter color will be a bluier thing. But yeah, we're going to go with the two tones on the smoke. So the some of this will have kind of darker smoke, then other bits will have lighter smoke. That's just the general idea of it. There'll also be effects kind of coming out of the hands as well, but those don't need necessarily a shape to them, because I'll be using a lot of my pattern brushes and stuff like that for the effects that come out of the hands and some of the kind of backgrounds. I'll just put like a kind of a smoky thing on the background, which will probably like a greenish kind of smoke, something like that maybe. Greenish kind of smoke, and then I might consider having. I'll have a think about what my background color is going to be. I'll do it in this section anyways, because I'll need to do it. But yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to do for my background color, but I'll probably have it be probably a dark green or something like that, very dark green, and then the yeah, I'll have like a light green smoke or something coming up from the bottom. That'll be kind of what I'll do, and that'll be all I'll need to do for the background. But then I'll do kind of some effects coming out of the hands. I'll use I'll mix smoke brushes and pattern brushes, and that'll probably do enough. I think that'll probably get what I'm looking for out of it to a degree. It should at least. But yeah. So yeah, I don't know if there's a huge amount. I don't think I need to go over much over what I just did with the details. It was pretty easy. Yeah, as I say, the smoke I'm gonna just kind of have. This is the adding the little lines here is just to kind of give it a bit more shape, because I don't want it to just be completely shapeless, because I feel like that won't look great. But if I apply a little bit of shape, I'll probably allow some of these edges to be harder edges, and some of them I'll probably kind of let blend together a little bit. But yeah, we'll see what I do. But yeah, so now it is time for the colors. So this won't take very long, I'm assuming, because I don't have many colors to work with here, because it's a superhero card. Superhero cards don't tend to have many colors. So yeah, we're gonna do the colors, and then I'll be back to do the painted shading, which will probably be the longest part of this because I got a lot more to do. But yeah, I'll throw in the background as part of this, but I probably won't do any details on the background yet. That'll probably be saved for the painted shading section. But yeah, so we'll do these colors, and then I'll be back. I'll be back. Okay, that's our colors. I had to deliberate a little bit on some of these bits. Finding the right purple can be difficult, because I keep my color palette here in CMYK color grade, even though the screen renders in RGB. I keep this in CMYK because it's just interesting to kind of work with it. It's a limitation, I think. I mean, I can still use a color up here, but it's just CMYK is what stuff prints in largely. So if you were to use one of these colors and then print, it wouldn't look right. Granted, I don't print. I don't print any of this stuff. But if I ever wanted to, I prefer the option to be there. Now, granted, given the way that I use gradient maps, there's a good chance that a lot of this stuff won't print right. But yeah, I mean, this is the stuff that I tend to go for. I went for this, instead of doing a gold, I was considering doing gold, but I decided to do this heavy yellow-green instead, this kind of luminous green. Because on the classic design, that's more so what the color is this yellow-green. It's not a gold color. And after doing it, I think I actually quite like it. But yeah, and then the purple was a bit of a pain to try and find the right one. I had to tinker with those greens a lot as well, because green, fun fact, is, I believe, the color which there's more shades of green perceptible to the human eye than any other color. I remember hearing that. I don't know if it's right or not, but I do remember hearing it. But yeah, there's more shades of green perceptible to the human eye than any other color. So there's a lot of potential when it comes to green. There's a lot of tinkering you can do with it. So I've largely, because again, looking at the original design, a lot of Mysterio's greens tend to be slightly on the bluer end of the scale. Obviously he's got this yellow-green here, and then his core color is, yeah, the kind of bluier, kind of deep green. So that's kind of what I skewed it towards. I still kept it kind of bright because we already have a dark green, so I didn't want to make it too bright or too dark, because we've already got a dark green here. But yeah, so I went with largely really bright colors because a lot of our shading is probably going to end up darkening that quite a bit, especially the purple, because that's going to get hit with I would say I'm probably... Actually, you know what? Yeah, I'll make the shading quite purple. I think that would be a better idea, because then it will pop out from the green background. I think, going to change this a little bit. Make this darker. That should... There we go, now that stands out a little bit more. And again, we're also going to be having paints go on the background, so we don't want to make it too much. But yeah, so with the painted shading, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to do... I think I'm going to do most of my effects in this section, because it's all going to be with the same paintbrushes. But I'll have to do some of the effects at the end, because I'll be using the pattern brushes again for a little bit of it. So there's going to be smoke coming out of his hands, which I will make a... what was the shade that I was thinking of using? I was thinking of using... I was thinking of using a kind of a light green color for the smoke coming out of his hands. Like, light green, but like really vivid green coming out of his hands. Really light, but vivid green. And then this smoke in the background will be a kind of a lighter green as well, but not quite as vivid. Pale green for the background, but again, not as vivid. You know what, I'll probably actually do that first. That'll probably be the first thing I do, is the back... I'll just change it to be BG smoke, because the smoke coming out of the hands will have to go at the very top, because it'll have to go over his detail there. But yeah, I'll do the background smoke first, and then I'll have to do my multi-tone smoke for the bowl, and then I'll just do the rest of the painted shading. The painted shading, I'll be skewing my darker color to be purple, and my lighter color I'll probably have as... My lighter color should be what? I think my lighter color should be a greeny color, because given how green a lot of this is, I think I'll keep the lighter color to be green. And then with the gradient map, I'll probably add a tinge of yellow with the gradient map, but that's for the end. So for right now, what do I need to think of? I need to do smoke, which should be quick. Then I need to do painted shading. But yeah, realistically, we're making pretty good time. We're only 2 hours into this, and I'm already on to one of the latter steps, because it's just painted shading, then detailed shading, then that's basically it. So realistically speaking, it's been a pretty quick one. So yeah, the thing that is, I suppose, my fatal flaw in terms of the amount of time that these take is definitely the faces and heads. Because whenever I don't have to draw a head, this is significantly faster. But anyways, yeah, I will do this. I will do the background smoke, which will basically be the background done. And then I will do my painted shading. And that will all be part of the one section. But yeah, then I'll leave the rest of that. I'll leave the... no, I'll leave it. I won't leave it. I don't know where my brain is going right now. My brain's fighting me a little bit. I'm a little sleepy today. But, yeah. So I'll do this. I'll do all the painted stuff. Then I'll be back to do the detailed shading. And during that section is probably where I'll do the last of the pattern stuff. I think. Yeah. So yeah, I'll do my painted shading and all that painted stuff. Then I'll be back for a little bit. But yeah, anyways, enough. My brain's really fighting me today. Anyways, enough of that. I'll carry on. Okay, so that's all of our painted stuff done. So I decided, as I said, to give the hand smoke a very kind of a vivid green color. And mercifully, you can still see the hands in there. I was kind of afraid that they'd get a little just absorbed by the smoke, but you can still see them. With the left one, it's a little harder to see, but given that that hand is closer to the camera, the smoke should be thicker. So yeah, realistically speaking, this one's a little hard to see. It is still there. You can still sort of see the lines. And this one's still pretty easy to see as well. So yeah, the hands are pretty visible. I think I did an okay job with the bowl smoke and the background smoke. I think I also did that in this section. I don't really remember actually now that I think about it. But yeah, the background smoke was pretty. I mean, the background smoke is easy enough. You just get the smoke brush and just kind of do you just kind of whack it up. And that's it, really. It's not exactly necessarily the term I would have used, but yeah, yeah, you just kind of fill the background with a smoke brush. That's it. And so there's a few pattern brushes which I think I'll maybe kind of slip into the what do you call it? The smoke, to see if it kind of maybe I can give it some sort of kind of thing going on with it, that it's maybe got a kind of a more kind of like digitally edge to it. I don't even know if that's necessarily what I want to do, but apply maybe just some magic-y effects to it so that it looks maybe a little bit more interesting. I think the smoke as it is looks fine, but I kind of want to spruce it up a little bit, so we'll experiment with that. I might not end up putting any of the patterns on, but we'll at least try, at least have a look at them and see how they look. So yeah, all I have to do now is the detailed shading, which should be pretty quick. I've already got my colors picked out, so I'm going to be using a very deep purple and a very bright yellow. I'm not going to apply any shading to the bowl, I think. I think I'm going to leave the bowl mostly alone. And yeah, I'll probably be pretty lax when it comes to shading around the hands, because I accidentally threw a pen. But yeah, I'll probably be pretty lax when it comes to shading around the hands, because you can't really see it anyways. But you can see it enough, so I'll do a little bit, but not anything too crazy. Yeah, so that's more or less what I wanted to say. So yeah, I'll also be doing the light line in this section. I don't think I'll put any really on the bowl again. I might put a thin light line around the edge here, but that'll be it. Yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say. So yeah, in this upcoming section, we're doing the detailed shading, the light line, and a little bit of experimentation with the pattern brushes on this. I'm not sure what color I'll go for on the patterns. I'll probably go for purple. Purple on the patterns. Probably a good idea. But yeah, anyways, I will do this, and then I'll be back to do the gradient maps and wrap up. Okay, that is basically us done. So I experimented a little bit with trying to get the effects of the patterns on the smoke. I just didn't really like it. It did not look very good. I feel like, yeah, it was a bit too messy. I feel like it didn't really look very good. So I just said screw it and I didn't include it. But yeah, so yeah, with the shading and everything on the light line, you can see a little bit of it in behind the smoke here, and same here, you can see a little bit of it, but I mean, it's not really necessary. But yeah, it's just a detail which I kind of like, the fact that you can still see a little bit of it through the smoke. And again, I put a bit of a light line on the bowl, so it's got a bit of a heavier sheen at the back, because naturally it should be a clean fishbowl on his head. But yeah, so yeah, I think that's everything there. I did my signature as well. I snuck that in. And yeah, so now we got to do the gradient maps. So I will quickly do this. So as I said earlier on, the kind of gradient map that I'm going to be putting in is, my darkest color is going to be a kind of purpley color like this. I'll probably make it a brighter purple. I'm gonna have to do a lot of colors here, I think, in order to make this work. So my lightest color is going to be a yellow like this. Then I need to do a color here, which is green. I need to make it a little brighter than that, a little on the yellower scale. About there. Now this color needs to be something else entirely, so this one's going to need to be a blue. It's going to need to be down here. About there-ish, I think. For that to work. So that's yellow, green, blue, purple. I need to make it a little darker. this might be an ugly one, we'll see. I might need to alter this, so I'll leave that open for now. It kind of works. It makes all our darks very blue. It kind of works. We'll see how it looks in completion. So we'll put that to 60%, because that's what that's going to be remaining at. So, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. The blue is very strong in this. The blue does appear to be kind of overpowering. Tell you what, I think it's all right. It does take a little bit of the kind of readiness out of that purple, but it still looks appropriate. It doesn't look wrong, so I think we'll roll with this. Yeah, I think I'll roll with this. And so next on the agenda is luminosity layer, which should re-inject some of the colors as they were before. It mostly just darkens things. It doesn't actually really skew that hard, the luminosity layer. And so now this is going to be a color burn, which should just kind of darken things a little bit more. So now I've got to get my texture, provided my mouse wants to work with me. It's been fighting me a little bit today. So, yeah, right. Go and grab my texture. Which, yeah. So, overall, I think this has been an interesting one. Surprisingly easy, all things considered, because this is only, what, a 3-hour recording, which is pretty short. And this is the first recording I'm doing this week, because if you haven't figured it out by now, I suppose if you're watching these videos, it's a good chance this is the first one that you've watched. So I normally do these in bulk, so I'll do them throughout a week because they take me a whole day. So what I'll do is I'll do basically a week of recording and then a week off where I edit them, and then back and forth like that. But yeah, so this week I'm recording, which means I'm going to try and get as many of them done as I can. I normally try to aim for 4 in a week, because it takes me a whole day. So that accounts for one which might take multiple recordings. But most of the time I don't hit 4, normally hit 3. 3 is the average, but I like to try and aim for 4 at the very least. Even if I don't actually get 4, I like to at least aim for it. But yeah, so this is the first one I'm doing this week, so it's a good thing this is an easier one. I prefer whenever the first one I do is easier. I mean, this only took slightly longer than Mr. Sinister, which is kind of saying something, because that Mr. Sinister one wasn't very hard either. But I had to draw a face, so this is what happens. But yeah, I think I got everything I wanted out of this. I did the effects and all that stuff. I kind of showed... I mean, it's not very hard to do them. It's just for paintbrush. It's just a very simple, smoky paintbrush. That's it. I mean, that's even what my texture is. My texture is just a smoky brush, a watercolory brush more so. Just painted over the page. And I just saved it as PNG, and then I just drop it in, because it's easier than having to do it by hand each time. Because some of these brushes get laggy. It's a weird thing that happens with digital painting, is that the variance and the complexity of the brush can sometimes cause a lot of slowdown for whatever reason. And I don't know why, but it's a thing that happens. But yeah, I feel like I got everything I wanted out of this. This was a fun one. I got to do a little bit of a redesign, but it's not too egregious a redesign. It's not too crazy. I tend to... Even though I didn't actually really like the game all that much, I do actually tend to pull a lot of redesign elements from Ultimate Alliance 3. If I'm doing any sort of kind of redesign with a Marvel character, I tend to pull a lot from there. Even though I didn't actually really like the game all that much, I do somewhat enjoy its design sense. There's a simplicity to it which I do like, and I like the kind of some of the ideas that they had with the redesigns were interesting. But Yeah, and so this is the thing with Mysterio. I pulled a lot from that, but they don't give him his checker pattern in that, which I don't like. And obviously, he's got a little bit more going on with the fishbowl, which I don't love too much. There's a lot of kind of gold on it, which I don't love. So I just took out the bits which I didn't really like and stuck to it for the most part. And I introduced the idea of the big kind of tall cape, which is supposed to make him look more imposing, even though he's not really imposing at all. Um, it's supposed to try and make him look more imposing, even though he isn't. So it's utilizing his knowledge of effects and stuff like this, and I suppose costume design as well, to implement this kind of fish wire that would go through it and make it look like his shoulders are really huge, when in actuality he's quite meek. He's still buff though, so I suppose there's that. But I suppose you could say it's a muscle suit. But anyways, that is that. Yeah, that was Mysterio, and that was me talking about effects as well. So yeah. Anyways, that is us. I will say my intro or my outro. My outro, because it's the end of the video, and then I'll leave you. So if you like the video, do whatever that you do whatever it is that you'd normally do. First thing, and I already messed it up. If you like the video, do whatever it is that you'd normally do, whether that be liking or not. I would of course prefer if you liked it, but I can't make you do that. So do whatever it is that you normally do. And if you would like to subscribe, it's the same deal. I would of course prefer if you did. Can't make you do it, so I won't. And yeah, you know where the subscribe button is, so I don't need to tell you. And if you choose to watch the next video, I will see you next time. Been a couple of weeks since I've done one of these, so I forget sometimes what the outro is. But yeah, I'll potentially see you next time. So with all that said, I'll say goodbye and I'll leave you. So, bye-bye.